Welcome to C3 Films. Today we are doing It Wasn't That Good for Anaconda. My name is Cheryl and this is...
Chris.
Spoiler alert, we're gonna ruin Anaconda if you haven't seen it yet. It's a really old movie, so I don't think you really need to worry about it, because if you didn't watch it by now, you probably have a good reason, I guess.
You probably weren't going to.
Yeah, you probably weren't going to. So don't worry about it. But anyways, how was your? Well, I haven't actually watched it before. Cause I kind of watched. I watched like half of it, like last year, and I was like, I don't need to finish this movie, and so I stopped watching it, and that's how I ended up on this show. But I know you've seen it before, Chris, long time ago, and then you just rewatched it again. Your thoughts?
So I think this movie is freaking incredible because I find myself, you know how the problem with some movies is that in the horror films, you don't really care about the characters, right? It's just like these are just characters like that are here to just die, like Jaws, Jurassic Park, the movies that this movie tries to emulate. But the thing is though, from the moment that because remember, I saw this when I was a kid, so I didn't remember this little bit of information about the movie. So like this was kind of new for me to watch again as an adult. But the moment that I saw the movie was about a film crew, I was like, I'm invested. Yo, I don't want them to die because that could be me. I could be shooting this documentary. I know sound. I know what it's like to run sound. I know what it's like to be the production coordinator. I know she's got she's a director. She's got, Ice Cube as her cameraman. I'm just like, yo, this is a film crew. I can relate. I know what it's like to be a film crew. I've been a film crew before. I've been that.
You've been the
So
whole film crew.
yeah, right? The whole film crew. So I'm just like, yo, I don't want anything bad to happen to them because those are my people. So the movie is great. I love it.
Is that really how you feel? I mean, I've had some problems, and by some I mean quite a bit. But the film was entertaining, so I'll give it that. Like, after I got past, like, I couldn't make it through the first time I watched it, but the second time watching it, I'm like, yeah, I guess it wasn't that good, but it wasn't that bad. So,
So on the real, this is another one of those examples of a good bad movie.
yeah, it's a good bad movie.
So I found myself like laughing because there's so many things that don't work in the film, but it's clearly trying to emulate these other like better films. Like for instance, I mean Jaws is one of the
Jaws
easiest
and King
comparisons.
Kong.
Um, yeah, so it's like, but down to the point where they even do the Jaws shot in this movie. I don't know if you noticed it. Like, I think it's when the snake like appears at night and like first like attacks the whole crew, and J Lo's sitting there, and they does the whole little the camera zoom, dolly zoom, I think it's called.
The
On
Hitchcock thing?
You said what?
That's a Hitchcock thing.
Yeah, it's a Hitchcock thing. They also did it in Jaws, and then yeah. So the Hitchcock, yes, you're right. It was a Hitchcock thing first. But yeah, so they do that again in this movie too, and I'm just like, you guys are trying to emulate better movies, but I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I was like, it's like they're trying to redo Jaws in like a snake way, which is like, I guess, but it's not very original. It was a little hokey, and it was really hard for me to get past John Voight being the character that John Voight played.
Oh my gosh,
How do
John Voight.
I gently say that it was not publicly acceptable?
Yep, yep. I'm watching John Voight do this, and I'm just like, yo, John Voight's having a little too much fun right now. I mean, I'll give him this. John Voight, he's a great actor. He had a good time. But if you've seen John Voight in other movies, I mean, even if you've seen him in this one, you can tell. that is not your accent. That is not your accent, bro.
Yeah, it didn't fly for me. I just it kind of took me out. There's just so much about like that character. It's not even just like the way he played it. It's like the way it was written itself and like portrayed, I guess. And I even wrote down like he's worse than the snake because
He
he
is
keeps
worse than this
coming
nigga.
back.
Like he for whatever reason just cannot
Can't
be.
die.
He can't die. He really can't. Um, yeah. It's so the weird thing about it is that like he. By the way, Danny Trejo cameo. Didn't realize when I saw the man that's Danny Trejo, it did not look like Danny Trejo to me. So I was like, "There's no way that's Danny Trejo that they." Well, you already said spoilers. That like they kill in the beginning of the movie, right? There's no way that's Danny Trejo. But that was Danny Trejo. But I went through the entire movie trying to be like, "Yo, where's Danny Trejo?" And then I forgot about him. And then the movie ended, and I saw Danny Trejo's name in the credits, and I was just like, "Oh, so that must have been him at the beginning of the movie that like killed himself." But it didn't look like him to me.
I mean, I did like that scene. I thought it was a really great opening for the movie. And then it just got really weird after that. And I'll forgive the CGI and the whole thing with the snake because that era so it's fine. However, about the snake. I thought it was weird how first they killed it and then it was alive again, so I guess that was another anaconda, and then apparently they light it on fire and it's in the water, but it doesn't think to put the fire out by going into the water. It just
I knew that you were gonna say that.
and it sounds like a bird or something screeching. I'm like, snakes don't make that kind of sound. And I get why they would do that because they need. I mean, they don't really need it, but I suppose it helps. I know they do that sometimes where they give sounds to animals that don't actually make sounds because sound is a very important part of a movie. So I'll give it that, but that was a really weird and obnoxious sound.
Was so obnoxious. And see, I had forgotten that there were two snakes in the movie. So when JLo shoots the first one, I'm just like, yo, that thing looks very dead. Like it looks very dead, and I know there's still more to this movie. What? And then you see the second snake, and there's no damage on it. So I was like, oh, okay. So there were two anacondas in this movie technically. So it's not like this is some genetically engineered or just happenstance by nature one time thing. There are two of these things, which means there's probably more. So that's one of those things that kind of did bother me because at that point, the whole thing about the first Jaws movie is that there's one shark that's this dangerous, but the moment that you say you start to just have other sharks pop out of nowhere, then it's well, the rules of our movie are now broken and we can just have sharks appear whenever. We can just say there's 50 of these things, just for the purposes of our film. So so the fact that there was a second one without them be having any kind of context of you know, there because the movie starts off with having this whole kind of scrolling text, which is kind of try to add some context for later on in the movie when you see the snake regurgitate its prey and then go after someone else, so that you understand the science of why that's happening. But there's nothing to suggest that well, it's hard to say because I feel like there is a part where they're oh, just in general, anacondas can be this big, but at the same time, I feel like it's kind of portrayed as a rarity. So the fact you come across two this big in the same movie feels odd.
I was gonna say, the game glitched and spawned another one.
Right? No,
Yeah.
you right about that. And there's just some other little weird things in the movie. I remember they got to the scene where the girl was dancing at night, everyone else is chilling and she's just sitting there just dancing and everything. And I'm like, why?
I think they were okay. They were definitely trying to put some like sex appeal things in there, especially with the whole thing with J Lo seducing um, John Voight, and like that was really weird and like kind of obvious. Like if I was John Voight, I'd be like, I'm not stupid, but he like goes for it anyway.
Well,
Um,
I mean, he knew what they were doing, which is why he
yeah,
pulls a gun.
he
Because
even
actually, I
said
thought that
yeah.
was that. I mean, that was funny though, because like after he pulls the gun and says, "I'm not stupid," he then kisses her again to be like, "I'm just gonna at least get one more kiss before this is over," and then he throws her away.
Yeah, like that whole thing was just weird for me. It was like whatever. And then there was that whole thing about what's his name? Westbridge
Yeah,
teaching Ice Cube how to drive the boat. And I was like, well, he's gonna die now because they need someone to drive. They only need one
driving the
person to
boat.
drive the boat. And of course they kill him. But what was weird about his death is that like he they were like climb the waterfall. So he's like climbing higher and higher, and they're like down there on the boat. Like, why are they safe down there and he's not safe up there, and then he gets killed up there, and like, so you're just not safe anywhere? Like, why? Like, the whole thing was just didn't make sense to me.
It's also weird, yeah, because like the snake decides that it really wants to kill him, as opposed to going for the three easier prey that are right behind him. Like, because he climbs, and the idea is that the snake can't climb a waterfall, which the snake can't. The snake climbs a tree that's next to the waterfall. That's what actually happens. But why would the snake go through all that trouble when it's like there's still three warm bodies back there, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have to work nearly as hard to get to them.
Exactly. Yeah, it just didn't make any sense at all. Like, I mean, I get like trying to like make it scary and like be like, oh, you can't hide from the snake, like he can get you from anywhere and stuff, but it also just like didn't like logically make very much sense to a point where while I was watching it I was like, what? Why, like of
Mm-hmm.
all the people he would probably be the safest, and then but then the snake was just like, what's up in the waterfall, and I'm like, okay.
Snake's like, what's up? I'm gonna eat you. I'm gonna eat you now. Dude jump. Snake's like, oh no, you ain't getting away from me. Yoink! He yoinked that dude out of the air.
Right, I know, and it was like hanging onto a tree, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I did like the way the snake would always wrap the prey up. I thought that that always looked really cool. Like as soon as the snake got you, like it would bite you, and then all of a sudden it would just be like, and it'd be
Yeah,
done.
yeah, I
So
did feel
like,
like they did a good job with that part of it. There were some parts that weren't like very great, but out, yeah, it was.
hmm
The snake wasn't like the biggest problem for me.
no, no, the snake was the biggest problem. Like it's really characters and character choices. Like for instance, why did Owen Wilson and what is her name, Carrie Wooler, why did those characters decide to go into the Amazon jungle at night by themselves? I don't care about like the giant snake they don't know about. What they do know about is a very real possibility that there are anything else like anybody who has even a passing knowledge of the Amazon knows that there's so many things in the Amazon that can literally kill you. It can even be as small as like an insect can literally kill you in the Amazon. Why are you guys going out with no light in the middle of the night for wild noises? You can, I get it, but you don't have to go that far for some wild sounds. I know some sound people that have gone deep into like wherever to get some good wild noises. But the point is that you in the Amazon jungle at night with things that can literally kill you, you got to be more careful. What the heck?
Yeah, and without a guide.
Right? Right? So we talk about John Boyd's character being a jerk, but the funny thing about John Boyd's character is that he keeps them alive for a while. Like, there's a point in that movie where I'm just like, yo, maybe y'all should just let him kill the snake and just be chill with him because, I mean, he is actually helping you. And then it does not help that the end of the movie, this is what I like. So I was actually okay with most of the movie until the end when I wanted to just flip the table. But at the end of the movie, when they're going back, like they see the tribe that they were looking for, and the dude literally says, "Oh, Salone or whatever his name was in this movie, John Voight's character, Salone was right." Which means that if they had listened to him from the beginning, they actually would have found the people that they were looking for. So after all of this nonsense that happens in the movie, and with a lot of it being because they don't want to trust him or believe him, he actually ended up being right. So if they just went along with his plan, everyone would have been happy.
Yeah, that's how I felt. Like I thought it was dumb that they weren't listening to him to begin with, and like he didn't actually like they were all like thinking he was like creepy and not to be trusted and everything, and I was like, I don't know why he seems perfectly fine, and then he just like kind of went a little crazy and backstabbing like later on when there was something that was in it more for him. But like he was even trying to save what's his name, Kale, after like he was like, we need to get him to a hospital, so let's go. And then there was that part where like JLo was like, we're gonna wait here for Mateo, was his name Mateo,
Mateo. Mateo.
and until morning, and see if he comes back. But I'm like, dude, your boy is like dying in on the boat, and like you forget that you need to get him to a hospital? And then later on, he like wakes up and stabs
Yeah.
um John Voight's character, and I was like, oh yeah, the hero. Like everyone like isn't able to handle John Voight except for him, a guy who's like dying, and he like magically is okay like later, like he never needs to go to a hospital. Even though like
No,
they they
even
slit
when
his
they're
throat and like stick a straw in there, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
this is not working for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, even when the movie is ending and they find their tribe, like he seems fine. There's no rush to get him to the hospital. Like he seems to have forgotten that he was mortally ill.
Yeah,
And like he only had a few days to live.
yeah,
Unless
yeah.
John Voight was just lying about that, maybe that was the point. Maybe John Voight was pretending like they needed him to get him in the hospital quickly, but the moment they did the whole tracheotomy, he was good.
Speculation.
Maybe. But I mean, yes, that was one of the other ridiculous things to me. But the thing is, like, the idea is that John Voight and Mateo set this whole thing up just to like this roundabout way so that they could get to this area so that they could hunt the snake because I guess their partner was lost. But the thing that I don't understand is I mean, was their partner out there hunting for the snake by himself? Like, were all three of them not out there with him hunting the snake? Because they clearly knew where he went. So I guess the story that we don't see is the partner was Johnny Trejo's just like, I'm gonna go hunt the snake, dies, and then Mateo and this other guy, John Voight, do something. Yeah, now I'm like, wow, this story's not making sense. So Mateo and John Voight decide to try and swindle a group of people to take them to the area where they can hunt the snake, as opposed to Mateo just driving the ship that he owns himself to go get John Voight and then them to still just hunt the snake with the two of them. Like, why do they need to involve these other people? Why have this whole like, yeah. And
Yeah,
why was John Voight out there by himself
I know.
as well? And
It was
did he
so weird.
and did he purposely did he purposely like maroon his own ship?
Yeah, yeah, like none of that made sense. It was just like they had to have them like meet accidentally on the
Yeah.
Amazon, and there's like not a lot of easy ways to do that apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. It's very weird actually. Um but one thing that I like about the movie is that it was clearly shot on a budget. The credits as far as actors goes is 9 people long.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, the scary movies are, you know, usually low budget, so I guess it's not that surprising. They probably blew their budget on the cast.
Or like those few explosions and stuff that they had like at the end of the movie for the climax.
And all that
But
CGI.
right, but like if you think about it, you don't see the snake that much. Like you see the snake every once in a while, and it's bad CGI. But like a lot of the conflict, like you were talking about John Voight's character being the real snake, it's basically him.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically
They didn't
shot a
even really
film.
need the snake.
No, yeah, they shot a film with the basically on a boat with like 8 actors.
Yeah. I mean, he killed most of them anyway.
Yeah, right, or got them killed. When Owen Wilson died, I was very upset. But I liked the shot where the snake was like underwater and swimming away, and you could see the shape of Owen Wilson's body inside the snake's body. I was like, okay, that was kind of cool.
I didn't like that. I was like, that's dumb. Like, that you would see, like, you could even see, like, the face. And I'm like, that's not how it works. Like,
That's not how it works, but it's a cool shot.
but it was CGI and it was really clearly CGI. So I was like, this isn't working for me. It's not working
I
for
mean,
me.
they blew all their budget on the cast, like you said,
Yeah.
because I don't imagine John Voight was cheap, and J Lo at least J Lo and Ice Cube were both on were both like musical stars at this point too. Although, I maybe you could tell me. I wasn't sure and I didn't research it, but was Ice Cube listening to his own music on the radio?
I don't know. But I like that scene. That was that was really funny because Westbridge was like, "I could have you killed for $50," and he's like, "I could kill you right now for free." That was good. I like that.
That was good.
Yeah, like shut up, man.
Oh man. But yeah, to get to the last little bit of the things that I thought was interesting about this movie. So or one, the the
You mean
movie
one?
was yeah, the movie was headed up by what two people of color leads.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the movie, the people of color both survived. The two that were in the movie actually live.
Mm-hmm.
The two leads that were in the movie, Danny Trejo was one too, but he died. But the point is, the two leads that were both people of color both survived the movie to the end. That in itself is kind of surprising, especially in the 90s when the trope was that in a horror movie, the brown person would die first or next to first.
Yeah, I noticed that too. But I still can't forgive the whole John Voight thing.
I
Like,
mean,
that overpoweringly bothered me.
it's it was pretty bad.
It was pretty bad.
it's
It was
it's like
it was really bad.
yes, it was like laughable. It's so bad, and he does it throughout the entire movie. And there's a part at the end where he gets eaten, but then he gets thrown up, and like the stomach acids are digesting him. But then he gets thrown up, but then he like looks at J Lo,
And
and then he
winks.
winks at her, and then falls over. I was just like, yo, bro, what?
Yeah, I kind of like that though, because that was. I mean, maybe not in a scary movie, but it was amusing.
Yes, it's just like, this dude is so. That dude is he's just too much. He's too much throughout the whole movie. And so like the fact that he just like he's like basically dying, but then even though he's dying, he has enough time to just be like, "Yo, gotcha." It's just
Right,
like-
but the question is, was he already dead and that was just a reflex that's happening with his body being thrown up, or was he still like alive long enough to be able to do that and that's what he decided to do in his last moments of life? The
I'm choosing
world
to
will
believe that.
never know.
The world will never know what was John Voight thinking when he took this role in this movie. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like the last element of the movie that I did like was the fact that at least J Lo and Ice Cube were talking to each other to communicate their plan while they're doing it in this like moment. So he's just like, "Hey, I'm gonna blow this thing up. Can you escape from up there? I'm good. Awesome. I'm gonna go blow this thing up now." Rather than him just being like in most action movies, they'd just be like, do the thing and then hope that the other person can read your mind and figure it out and they survive. But they're like actively trying to make sure the other person can live, which that to me at least felt realistic.
Yeah. Especially with the way that they set up their relationship. Like, they made it really clear that they're, like, really close. So, yeah. I like the relationship they had in the movie.
Yeah. Same. Same. So, yeah, I mean, and I'm surprised. I was surprised that the guy that, they needed to go to the hospital, I was surprised that he lived. I really thought that he would have died too. But, I mean, I guess they had to at least, I guess they had to at least have one white person survive.
I guess. I think they should have just let him die, but okay. But I think you all know how I feel about people dying in movies, so.
I know, you just love to see people dying.
Yeah, like, just off them. I mean, they were so close. So close. Like, if only they got him to a hospital, then he would have made it. But nope.
Nope, nope. I wonder if they get to. I wonder if they get to film their movie now. That since they found the tribe, did they? You think they stopped film their movie after all this happened, like, and then went back to the hospital, or do you think they went to the hospital and then came back and then filmed their movie? Also, the ending shot of the film. Where are they going?
I thought that he didn't have the camera anymore, and at the end, I think that was stock footage. But I imagine they were leaving the Amazon River.
That did not. That looked like they were going into the ocean.
Yeah.
That didn't look like they were going back to like a town that like led into a river.
Right,
That looked like they were about to.
But where do rivers lead to?
I mean,
The ocean.
yeah, but
So maybe
yes, but
maybe they were
based on
exiting
like
the
how the
river.
locations of these places usually work, you don't have to span an entire ocean to get from a hotel that is intended for you to like travel to this other river. Like that, there was a horizon. There was a horizon. That's all I'm saying. That shit looked like they were like trying to travel the seven seas. They didn't look like they were going back to a hotel. That's all I'm saying.
Which brings me back to stock footage.
Oh man.
I mean, you needed a helicopter for that shot, and I don't know about that budget. They didn't have drones back then.
Yeah. No, you're right. That was clearly stock footage. Now I'm thinking about it because I even think that boat was okay. I don't even think that boat was like messed up like it was before.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like really looking at the boat closely because I do remember thinking about that shot. I'm like, oh, it's stock footage. But like now I really want to go back and look at it and see if that boat even looks remotely close to the boat that was in the movie. Because if it is, then I'll be like, okay, maybe it wasn't stock footage. But if it's like some completely different looking kind of boat, then I'd be like, yeah, that's a stock footage.
I'd be willing to bet it's stock footage because they were just like we didn't get the ending shot that we need, so we just gotta just grab some stock footage so we can have some credits, which brings me to my last point of this movie. Did you hear that credit music? Now, this is gonna sound nitpicky as all heck, but the ending credits music feels like the ending credits music you would hear in an adventure film like Indiana Jones or like The Mummy. And it's like that is not what this movie is. The movie ends as if like these characters will have another adventure in the future, but clearly this is the only like movie they're gonna have. So it just felt so weird hearing that like, and the ending music just did not fit to me at all. for like what this movie was supposed to be. But that's probably like a little nitpicky, but it was something that I noticed.
I mean, I wasn't terribly fond of the music. It did like what it was supposed to do, which is like tell you how you're supposed to feel, but otherwise, uh, nothing special.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, but that's everything. You got anything else you want to bring up about this movie?
Nope, I went through my entire list of things to say.
Ironically, so did I, which doesn't usually happen,
This
by the
never
way, guys.
happens.
Like we have a lot of notes and we get through like maybe a quarter of
And then
them.
we talk a lot about it afterwards, so.
Right. But I have literally nothing else to say about this movie. Oh man. Other than the fact that it is a good example of a good bad movie. It's not like so awful you can't watch it and have a good time. It is a good time and the actors in it. I mean, if you can put offensiveness aside with John Voight, can be pretty fun. But what do you guys think about a movie? Have you seen Anaconda? Did you see it back then? Are you watching it now that it's on HBO Max for the first time? Whatever you thought about it, comment below. Let us know. And while you're down there, if you give us a like, share, subscribe. Even if you don't, though, I have been Chris, and this has been
Cheryl, and we will see you all next time.